What is time travel? Today we're going to talk about the reality of time traveling and the truth beyond it. Is it possible to travel in time? Well, today we'll try to figure it out. We will support our topic in different famous theories and philosophers. Time travel is the concept of movement between certain points in time, related to movement between different points in space by an object or a person, typically with the use of a hypothetical device known as a time machine. Time travel is a widely recognized concept in philosophy and fiction.
We can evaluate the reality of time travel through the contrasting perspectives of René Descartes and David Hume. David Hume believed in the philosophy of empiricism. In the readings of Enquiries, we learned that empiricism states that knowledge is created from sensory experiences. All beliefs are knowable only on the basis of experience, and if one hasn't observed or sensually felt something, the reality of the event cannot be confirmed. From this perspective, we can say that time travel is possible, since if time travel is to occur, the person would experience it through their senses. On the other hand, René Descartes stands behind the idea of rationalism. Rationalism is a philosophy that claims that reason is the source of truth. Truth itself isn't sensory, but intellectual. So in this case, one can deduct that time travel is non-existent, as time travel is an abstract concept which isn't formed through logic, but instead through senses. However, in the readings of Mediation, Descartes says that he can be certain that sense perception exists because it exists in his mind as a mode of consciousness, but he can never be sure whether what he perceives has any basis in truth. So, we can establish that because we experience time travel with our senses, our experience of it is realistic. However, we cannot be certain about the truth and reality of it.
Test an astronaut and twin brother highlights spaceflight's future impact.
NASA astronaut Scott Kelly traveled to the International Space Station for a period of 340 days, while his identical twin Mark Kelly stayed on Earth. During the time he was on space, both of them were asked to give samples of the urine, saliva, and blood. The objective of the research was to contrast whether the amount of the time spent on space could affect the human body. The reason why Scott and Mark were chosen was not only because they were identical twins, but also because they had similar genetic profiles. You might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with the concept of time? Well, the results of the research were amazingly surprising. It was found that Scott, the astronaut who went to space, came back being younger than his identical twin Mark. To be exact, he came back being 13 milliseconds younger. This might seem like nothing, taking into account that we live an average of 2,366,820,000 seconds. But looking into the future, where long-distance traveling between galaxies will be possible for humans, it will have a big impact in our bodies. This research raises many questions such as, is time travel possible? Since you'll be able to go into space and come back and be younger than the people on Earth. Then, will people use it in order to live longer? This is direct evidence of time travel, and even if 13 milliseconds seem like nothing, we're still time traveling.
One more scientific related to physics theories. I'm talking about Stephen Hawking. He had dual opinion about time traveling. In general, he thought that it is impossible to travel in time, but the only possible way, as he thought, is to relate this topic to his hypothesis about wormholes that are being in everything in the world. If to create the energy from the great amount of wormholes, it could be possible to transfer wherever and whenever we want. We can change the fabric of the spacetime to create a wormhole linking us to the past or the future, essentially teleporting through time. Also, there is a hypothesis about mental time travel. According to the classic two-leak theory, memory has the distinctive mission of permitting humans to mentally travel backwards and forwards in time. Mental time travel allows us to recall past events to avoid dangers and choose the best future courses of action. Central to mental time travel is episodic memory, which processes memories of personal events and experiences and makes it possible to use past experiences to simulate future events or alternative paths.
Everybody ready to say goodbye to our solar system? To our galaxy? Here we go.
Controls won't work here. We're passing through the bulk. Space beyond our 3 dimensions. All you can do is record and observe.
What is that?
It's them.
Distorting space-time.
Don't!
What was that?
First handshake.
We're here.
Do you think that time traveling is possible? I think yes. And I think that it's possible, and maybe not physically, but using our memory. Like, for example, when you remember any situation from your past, you're living that moment. You're feeling that emotions. You're listening to the sounds you had at that moment. And you cannot feel what is going on in your reality. What's going on, that doesn't matter for you. So that's why I believe that we can travel through time. And it may be because of the memory. The movie Arrival, a woman has all memories about all of her life, from the beginning to the end. Louise Banks' brain is rewired as she learns the alien language, leading to a groundbreaking revelation. After this, she has her memories from past as well as from the future. In the end of the movie, Louise has a vision of herself at a future United Nations reception, where she is being thanked by General Shang for convincing him to suspend the Chinese attack on the extraterrestrials 18 months ago. The general explains to Louise that she called his private cell phone number and compelled him by repeating his wife's dying words to him in Mandarin. In the present, Louise makes a dash for it as she's chased by armed men for stealing the satellite phone she uses to make the call. Let's see this part from this movie together.
Dr. Banks, a pleasure.
General Shang, the pleasure is mine, really.
Your president said he was honored to host me at the celebration.
Yes.
But I confess, the only reason why I'm here is to meet you in person.
Me? Well, I'm flattered. Thank you.
Now, 18 months ago, you did something remarkable. Something not even my superior has done.
What's that?
You changed my mind. You're the reason for this unification. All because you reached out to me on my private number.
Your private number, General, I don't know your private number.
Now you know. I do not claim to know how your mind works, but I believe it was important for you to see that.
I called you, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
All right, let's shut down the system. Sir? There's a sat line here dialing China. Here? What do you mean, here?
Come on, come on.
Whose phone is it? It's your phone, sir. Search base camp now. Find out who's using that phone. You hold on to those coordinates. Yes, sir.
What do I say? What do I say?
I will never forget what you said. You told me my wife's dying words.
将军，我在美国营地。将军，您夫人给我托梦了，
妻子的遗愿，你应凭智用
他
出来。
说你应凭借。
Found the source of the phone call. It's in the clean room. Waiting for instructions.
凭借勇气来帮助正确视觉。
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Changing someone's mind. Can you buy me 20 seconds?
We don't have time for this.
No, trust me. Buy me 20 seconds. You trust me.
Okay.
You trust me.
将军，他还说，
Dr. Banks, drop the phone now or we shoot.
战争不成就英雄，
Drop it!
Yeah. I'm sorry.
只会留下国怒。
You are committing an act of treason.
Yes.
Drop it!
It's done. I'm done.
A causal loop is a sequence of events. Each event in the loop is one of the causes of the next event. So as we can see, if event A causes B, B causes C, then that means that through this idea, C will eventually cause A. Now let's look at the causal loops through the grandfather's paradox. Let's say that Sam invents a time machine and wants to go back in time in order to take his grandfather's life. Let's say this happens. Now this actually will affect Sam's family hierarchy. Now that Sam's grandfather is dead, he won't get married to Sam's grandmother, so one of Sam's parents won't be born. Then Sam will never be born. If Sam wasn't born, then he won't travel back in time and his grandfather won't get killed. So he will marry Sam's grandmom and then one of Sam's parents will be born. So Sam will be born to travel back in time. Now, it might seem like there's no solution to this and it's just a constant loop of events. However, because Sam is traveling back in time, he's not actually affecting his own future, but only affecting a copy of his future in a parallel universe. Therefore, when Sam does kill his grandfather, it will not actually affect his life.
Now that we looked at whether we can travel through time, let's see whether that's actually possible. Taking into account several philosophical factors. Going back to empiricism, which states that knowledge is based on experience derived from senses, in theory, time travel is possible as we are able to separate things in our minds, look at something from a different perspective. For example, we can separate bronze spear into bronze stuff and spirituality, which is impossible in reality. Likewise, we can theorized numerous ways in which we can travel through time but might be physically impossible. For example, according to general theory of relativity, we can travel through a wormhole, but they are very unstable and can collapse on themselves, creating inescapable black holes. To stabilize it, we need negative mass. To obtain the required negative mass, we need to convert entire planets or stars, which is not feasible. Therefore, until we find a way to actually travel through time, it is not possible to say with certainty whether it is possible or not. Which brings me to the problem of knowledge. The current way we define and understand things limit us from traveling through time. For example, special relativity allows traveling to the future, as explained by the twins paradox, but not to the past, as laws of physics that we have defined forbid traveling faster than the speed of light, which is needed to reverse time. Then, through formal logic and syllogism, we can conclude that time travel is not possible by looking at the fact that, firstly, Stephen Hawking hosted a party for time travelers which announced the day after the party. Secondly, no one attended. Therefore, taking the two facts into account, it is safe to assume that time travel is not possible.
We should ask ourselves, why do we want time travel? We want to go back in order to live again special moments for us because of our emotions and love. And we also want to travel to the future because of our curiosity, which is a common characteristic of the human being. We don't have a clear answer whether time travel exists. It depends from which perspective we look at it.